Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nick. Wow. Oh. Thank you so much. Come here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Listen, I want to, and you know, we haven't even had, thank you so much. We haven't even had an election yet. Just think what it's going to be like after we win this election and come back. We have had an absolutely wonderful last 10 days, and we've been everywhere, man, I want to tell you. And this is the last day of this first part of our effort here, and it's only fitting that on that last day of this part of the effort, we come back to, as far as what I'm concerned, it all began in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Now there's a lot of ways that you can define home. What's home? I think of the things that you judge everything else by the rest of your life. What did you grow up with? The parents that you had, the community you grew up in, the standards that you learned. And that's where it all began for me, in a little town where I knew if I got in trouble, they'd nobody at home before I ever got home. That if I knew if I got in trouble at school with the teachers, my folks would side with the teachers and not with me. And they set standards for me that I haven't always been able to live up to, I'm sure, in their eyes, but they never were far from me. And the things I learned right around this square right here, and the neighbors and the parents of my buddies and all, and what they did for me and taught me has never been far from me and never will be. And I want to thank you for that, Lawrenceburg. I also judge a home by where your loved ones are buried. And the best daddy a boy ever had and a wonderful daughter are laid to rest here in my home, this very, very special place. I want to acknowledge some folks tonight, and my goodness, I could spend the entire time that I've got up here acknowledging folks and thanking folks and picking folks out of the crowd. First of all, I see John Rich over here. You all know Big and Rich. Well, you know, he's been my champion from day one. These fellows, their managers are always saying, you got to go on the road, you got to go on the road, you know, it's the season and all that. He's put everything aside to help me do this. The most wonderful guy that I have met in a long time. Thank you, John, for being here. I want to, and helping me out once again, I want to thank Howard Baker. Howard Baker, when I think of a statesman, he's the first fellow I think of. He gave a young 30-year-old wet behind the ears lawyer just a little ways out of law school an opportunity to come to Washington, D.C. and sit at his right hand during Watergate, during the tumultuous times in our country, certainly tumultuous times in our party. And I watched him work hand in glove with a Democratic senator by the name of Sam Ervin from North Carolina. And it was probably the last time you ever saw a Democrat and Republican work together in tough times and come out of a committee where all the votes were unanimous because they were pulling together, because they were doing what they knew was in the best interest of the country and not partisan politics. Unfortunately, that's been the last time I've seen anything like that happen. And I thank him for that, and I thank him for being now at my side in this time in my life. I want to thank my wonderful wife, Jerry, who you met a minute ago, a wonderful wife and mother who said she was ready to go. She'd see this through with me gladly, as long as I understood I was her number 2 priority. And her number 1 priorities are sitting over there, and their names are Hayden and Sammy. And I want to acknowledge the best mother that a boy could ever have. Ruth Thompson is here tonight, my mother. I've been blessed in so many ways. My mother being here tonight is high among them. You know, I've got that old red pickup truck parked in her yard, parked in her driveway now in Franklin, Tennessee, and I'm having a real hard time keeping her from going out there and cranking her up and get her out on the campaign trail. But well, Mom, I got to save you for a little bit later. My sons, Tony and Daniel, there's no greater pride that a man can have is to see his sons grow up to be such fine young men and marry such wonderful women and have such wonderful families. And they're all here tonight. My grandkids are here tonight. My nieces and nephews here tonight. My brother Ken and cousins. I got cousins all over the place. Good to see you. My brother Ken got interviewed by the Los Angeles Times the other day. You know, some of those folks, I guess, have been down here in Lawrenceburg talking to folks and, grade school and high school classmates and former teachers and everything. I want to tell my former teachers, I'm just as surprised to be here as you are to see me up here tonight. But they interviewed my brother Ken, and if you knew my daddy Fletcher, who was the best man that I ever knew, if you knew my daddy Fletcher, well, let's just say Ken is a chip off the old block. And they asked Ken, said, your brother's running for president of the United States. What do you think about that? He said, well, I'm doing what any brother would do under the circumstances. I'm trying to figure out how to make a buck off of it. I'm hoping truth just runs in the Thompson family. I mean, it just comes out at the doggonedest times. So everybody, I got aunts and uncles and cousins and so many friends. I see some of the Lindsay family here tonight. Sarah Lindsay is an important part of my life and one of the reasons that I'm here today. And I want to thank the Lindsay family for being here tonight. I practice law. How many guys can stand in one place and look around at about every 30 feet there's a memory? I look down Waterloo here, just about a half a block down on the right. Ma and Pa Thompson had a little cafe. I'd walk in the door, she'd see me coming. The time I'd get seated, there was 2 hamburgers on the grill. Just a little further down, a few years later, started a law practice. A.D. Lindsay, Sarah's uncle, let me come with him, a 2-man law practice. Planned on being a country lawyer. Almost was. Standing right here, somewhere over in there, closer to there, almost the very spot, I tried my first lawsuit at the old courthouse here. And they were catching water in buckets, you know, as the roof was leaking, as we were walking around and arguing to the jury and so forth. So many memories, so many wonderful memories. But as wonderful as the past is, we're talking about the future tonight. And I've been able to see life from a lot of different vantage points. I've seen it from the factory floor at Murray, Ohio, in a graveyard shift, to the palaces of foreign leaders back when I was in the United States Senate. I've had a chance, I guess they ran that video again. I like it, it's just the way I wrote it. And I'll say to all you young men out there with a full head of hair, enjoy it while you can. But when I look at it and I reminisce a little bit and I think maybe I was able to step up and serve my state every once in a while. Maybe I was able to step up and serve my country. Been able to do a lot of different things, because a lot of people along the way oftentimes saw more in me than I saw in myself, I think. But you can travel around the world, but sometimes the most important things you find is right under your own roof. It's too bad a man has to be a certain age before he starts accumulating hopefully a little wisdom about certain things. But I've been blessed with being a very young father, and I've been blessed with by being a father who's not so very young. And when I started this presidential talk, and I saw that it was a wide open situation, and I started thinking about the future, and I started thinking about the world and the country that these kids were going to grow up in and my grandchildren were going to grow up in, I got to wondering whether or not I was at my highest and best use. I was certainly enjoying life, doing a few things that a lot of people, I guess, would like to be doing. But my thoughts kept going back to that. What kind of country? And then the question occurred to me, how many people really have the opportunity to do something about it? So I stand here today before you not as somebody who's aspired to be president for a long period of time. Even when I went into politics, I put term limits on myself. I never intended to be a career politician. Came back, stayed involved, especially with national security matters. Didn't get quite as much publicity as law and order, but I was doing that all the time. But I didn't have those aspirations, and I don't come here tonight before you as somebody that pretends to have all the answers to the issues that are on the table and the ones that'll be on the table that we don't even know about yet, and that'll be on the plate of the next president. But I come to you as somebody who thinks he knows his country, and he knows her people, and he's concerned about her future. And he knows it's going to require strong leadership in these years to come, and that there are going to be things before the American people and on the table of the next president. Decisions about those things are going to determine the future of this country for a long time to come. And I'm determined that we make the right decisions about the security and the prosperity and the unity of this country, and that's why I'm running for President of the United States. I don't need to introduce myself to you folks all over again. But what I'm telling folks that don't know me nearly as well is that I'm the same fellow who got in that truck in 1994 with what I call common sense conservative principles and went from one end of the state to the other, talking about the importance of the sanctity of life, talking about strong defense of the Second Amendment when others wouldn't defend it, talking about the importance of lower taxes, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it helps our economy and fosters growth, which underlies everything else that we're all about in this country if we're going to have any prosperity at all. Talking about appreciation and respect for the rights of property in this country. Talking about the importance of free competition, free people. Talking about the underlying principles that this country was founded upon, based upon the notion that in this changing world there are some things that don't change, that they're handed down to us from the wisdom of the ages. And one of those things resulted in the Declaration of Independence that reminds us that our rights don't come from government, they come from God. And it handed us the Constitution of the United States, which pointed out to us the need to separate power, not too much power in too few hands. Separate the power, not only at the federal level, between the federal and the state level. That's called federalism, and it's meant to ensure liberty and freedom for our people. based on the notion that not every solution to every problem is found in Washington, D.C. Based upon the absolute necessity at all costs to ensure freedom, to ensure individual liberty, political freedom, and economic freedom. And the fact that those things are all interrelated. You can't pick and choose one over the other. And it's based upon the notion that a government powerful enough to give you everything is powerful enough to take anything away from you. But every generation now has its hills to climb, and a few years have passed since those days. Some think the principles have changed. The principles haven't changed. The years have brought us new hills to climb. We now live in a time where a handful of the wrong kind of material and the wrong kinds of hands can result in the death of tens of hundreds of thousands of American people. That's the other side of technology that we have to live with. We just have to deal with. We have had war declared upon us by radical Islam, and it's a global war of which Iraq is only a part. It's not the totality of this war. It's much broader and deeper than that. These people have no principle. They have no rules to play by. They're intent on bringing the United States and Western civilization to its knees, and we must not show weakness in the face of this. It would make this country much, much more dangerous, and we would pay a heavy price for it in the future. The whole world is watching, friends and foe alike, to see whether or not this pressure is going to continue to divide us and make us weaker, disunited, and look for the short-term solution and not worry about the years to come and the kids who will be handed that problem a few years down the road. We must send a message to the rest of the world, friend and foe alike, that we are united as a people and determined to do whatever is necessary to win this global war. You talk to the young people who come back from Iraq, who come back from Afghanistan, some of them seriously wounded. Their main concern is usually getting back with their comrades. And they will talk to you and they will tell you they know that they're doing something good for their country. They know they're doing something good for their younger brothers and sisters. It's strange to me that the average 20-year-old serving our country in Iraq and Afghanistan knows more about what the security of this country requires than some 20-year veterans in the United States Congress. Politicians are busy, which ought to scare you in and of itself, but they're busy spending the birthright of future generations. They're working through the Social Security surplus. Pretty soon we'll be seeing the retirement of the baby boomers, the first part of them next year, and it goes up from there. It's a good thing. We're living longer, healthier lives. It's a wonderful thing. Yet we have to adjust to it because we have fewer and fewer young people coming along for a greater retirement population. It just means we got to adjust to it, come together as reasonable people, Democrats and Republicans. No one party, no one president can solve these things. People got to come together and get over the political difficulties and come to some common sense solutions before everybody has to be hurt down the road. And yet they kick the can down the road for somebody else to solve because it's tough. Because it's tough. And to a career politician, losing your politician's license is the most horrible thing that you can think of. You don't want to do anything controversial. You want to play it safe. I wonder what these little children would say. I wonder what those yet to be born would say if they had a seat at the table when these discussions were going on? More importantly, what would they think about us? We need to send a message to Washington that we are better than that as a people. And we'll be sending that message when we elect a president who's not afraid to blow the whistle on this irresponsibility and say it's got to stop. Now, a lot of other things we could talk about tonight. That video reminds me of the honor that I felt when the president called me to help out Chief Justice John Roberts get through the confirmation process and become a great Chief Justice. He needs help. Reminded me, I didn't really need reminding, but it drove home even further the need to appoint people to the United States Supreme Court who will apply the Constitution and the law and not make it up as they go along. I'm concerned about a Washington that's out of touch with the American people. I'm concerned that not enough people understand that we have to secure our borders against illegal immigration. Just about all of us are descendants of immigrants of one kind or another, at one time or another. People have stood in lines all across this world by the thousands at embassies of the United States, waiting to play by the rules, to take the time necessary, to wait for years and come here and be some of our best citizens and love America just as much as we do. But this is all our home now. This is all our home. And together, we must understand that a nation that cannot secure its borders will not forever remain a sovereign nation. And we should never forget that. But a sovereign nation is what we are. And we have to remember what we are and what we've been. We're not without fault. We as a nation make our mistakes as we go along. Nations are just like people. They have some good days that are better than others. But when I hear the criticism that we get sometimes in the international community, and I see the polls where the old US of A is not doing so well, one thing occurs to me. Our people have shed more blood for the liberty of other people than all the other nations combined. And I'm tired of people feeling the need to apologize for the United States of America. We're a part of the greatest country in the history of the world. That means that we are the most blessed people in the history of the world. That means, that carries with it certain obligations and responsibilities. And basically what that means is that it's up to us to keep it that way and do the things necessary to keep it that way. It's up to us to make sure that we do what those before us did, and that is hand off this place a little better off than when we came into it. Now, our nation is steeped in the tradition of honor and sacrifice for the greatest good. We're proud of that tradition. We have so many times come together in times of trouble, times of difficulty, and we don't maybe feel it today, but challenges are ahead of us. We can see them coming. But we faced up to these things and come together and remember there's a whole lot more as a nation and our people that unite us than divide us. And we've come together, faced those obstacles, done it together, hitched it up, got the job done, come out the other end stronger and wiser than better than when we went into it. We've got the pattern for what we need to do to address any and everything that comes our way. We've set the pattern in this country. And my friends, with all the humility that I can muster, I want to tell you that I believe in these coming years we need leadership that understands our people, that understands the greatness of this country, and understands how great she is going to be in the future and what's necessary to bring her there. And my friends, I must tell you, I am that man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come on. Come on out. Thank you. Hey, little buddy. Hey, little buddy. Hey, wave to the people, honey. Wave to the people. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Hey, honey.